On that rainy Tuesday, when my own daughter pointed to the door and said this house had no more room for me, I felt my heart stop. I was 74 years old with nowhere to go. I just lowered my head, accepting my end. What I didn't know was that someone was watching from the stairs, and what my grandson, only 13 years old, did in the next 5 minutes, well, that made my daughter cry tears she will never forget. You know, it's hard to admit when you've become a burden. I spent my whole life taking care of this house. Every brick, every curtain was bought with the sweat of my work as a seamstress. But after my husband passed and my legs started to fail, I had to move in with Julia, my oldest daughter. At first, it was all smiles, but soon the smiles turned into sighs of impatience. I tried to be invisible. I ate little. I stayed in my room. The only light in my days was Lucas, my 13-year-old grandson. He was the only one who still looked me in the eye and saw a person, not an old piece of furniture. The turning point happened at Sunday dinner. I knocked over a glass of juice. My hands had been shaking a lot lately. Julia didn't scream, which was worse. She just stopped eating, wiped the table aggressively, and said in that ice-cold voice, "Mom, honestly, you're just a burden. Everything revolves around cleaning up your mess. I can't take the situation anymore." That hurt more than a slap in the face. I felt tiny. Lucas tried to say, "Mom, it was an accident," but Julia told him to shut up. The silence that remained in the room was deafening. I went to my room to cry softly. I remembered when Julia was a baby. How many nights did I stay up to give her medicine? How many times did I skip buying shoes for myself to pay for her English courses? I invested everything in her. And now all I received was contempt. The house we were living in? I helped with the down payment, but she seemed to have forgotten that. The memory of gratitude is short, but the memory of pain is eternal. Over the next few days, it got worse. Julia started talking loudly on the phone about cheap nursing homes. She left brochures scattered around the living room on purpose for me to see. I started getting scared to leave my room. My grandson, Lucas, noticed. He would come home from school and come straight to my room, sitting there doing his homework with me in silence. He seemed to be planning something, messing with his phone, recording things, but I was too sad to ask. Until the Tuesday of the eviction arrived. The bags were by the door. Julia said, "Mom, I already called the Uber. It's for your own good." I didn't have the strength to fight. I grabbed my purse, felt the weight of the humiliation, and took the first step outside. That's when we heard a loud noise. "Nobody is going anywhere." It was Lucas. He was at the top of the stairs, holding not a toy, but an old file folder I kept at the back of the closet. He walked down the steps slowly, looking much older than his 13 years. Julia laughed nervously. "Lucas, go back to your room." He ignored her and opened the folder right in front of her face. "You said Grandma is a burden, Mom. But look at this." He pulled out a yellowed document. It was the original deed to the house. "I looked it up online, Mom. Grandma never transferred the house to your name. Dad only lives here because she lets him. And there's more." Lucas grabbed his phone and played an audio recording. It was Julia's voice talking to a friend. "I'm going to send the old lady to a home and sell the house. I need that cash to get a new car." My daughter's face went pale. My 13-year-old grandson had uncovered the truth not even I had the courage to face. It wasn't about care, it was about greed. The silence returned, but now it was different. It was the silence of her shame. Lucas looked at me and said, "Grandma, this house is yours. You decide who stays." The power dynamic shifted in that instant. I stood up straight. I looked at my daughter, not with anger, but with firmness. "You can stay, Julia," I said, "but the rules are going to change. I am not a burden. I am the owner of my life. She broke down crying, begging for forgiveness, ashamed of being unmasked by her own son. That night, I wasn't the one who cried myself to sleep. Lucas fell asleep, hugging me on the sofa. I learned that true love sometimes skips a generation. My grandson gave me back more than my house. He gave me back my dignity. If you have an elder at home, remember, they are not a burden. They are the roots that hold everything together. And if you cut the roots, you kill the tree. Do you agree that grandparents deserve more respect? If this story touched your heart, leave a like and subscribe. Let's show the world that respect has no age.